Thinking about legacy reminds us that life is short. How can we leave a path for the next generation to follow? Let's see what my guests have to say about that. Now, as usual, when the cameras are off, we have good conversation. And we were just talking about that. In other words, how we as ordinary individual people can leave a legacy. We did understand that Michelle had an awesome legacy of education. And during the break, we realized of political exposure.
Yes.
And so did Hillary, right?
Exactly.
So now we're talking about our teens, which you have such a passion for. I love that. You have such a passion for them. So let's talk about how we personally can leave this legacy. If I'm mama, and I perhaps, don't have all of these things that you're talking about, how do I begin to leave a legacy for my child?
Well, I think that you have to have a plan for your child. See, I think
that's good. That's good.
That's where we have left off. We used to think about what we want for our children in the long term. And therefore, we treated them like precious jewels, our girls. And we treated them like princesses.
Good. I love that.
And therefore, we knew the next steps.
Yeah, which is almost a lost art, Judge.
But it's not a lost art to set up standards and values and social skills so that you can engage the larger society.
Oh, that's good.
And so, therefore, the legacy that we need to be leaving for our children is not so much what we've accomplished. It's not about us.
Yes.
It's about we understand the world.
Yes.
And so, therefore, we have to prepare. It's just
I was listening to someone who was sharing that they couldn't make their children do certain things, although they were, underage, still living in the house. And so this is the kind of problems we have when we desire these things for our children more than they desire for themselves. And you're saying that they have...
They are children, first and foremost. They're not on parity. And I can tell you that these young families, and we're at a generational situation where the generations are only about 15 years apart.
Wow.
It's been going on since the 70s.
Wow.
Where you're seeing grandmothers and great-grandmothers who are 50.
Wow.
And so, consequently, they think that they can treat their children as friends. But what I ran into as the U.S. Attorney's Office, as a prosecutor, I had more parents coming down looking for protective orders against their children.
Right.
Because of setting up these relationships, so when they hit teenage years, they could not control them.
That's good. So what you're saying is,
that is not how you establish a relationship.
Exactly.
With children.
Let's pull that out because I think that's a takeaway. When young parents, grands, or whoever, as these children are growing up, they are not your friends.
No.
You need a plan. You need a plan of action for your children, and it doesn't start when they get to be a teenager.
That's right. And
well,
it's
almost too late if you're waiting until they're teens, because normally they're as tall as you are, if not taller. So you have to let them know right away what are the things that are important in your life that you value. For example, the church and the family, and getting that exposure. And I think if our churches were also stepping up even more. We have some that are doing that.
Yeah, we have some that are doing it. Yeah, we need more, absolutely. It can't all be in one place. It just needs to be in our community, not just our churches, our community, every aspect. I do think it has to be absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And it's not about disciplining our children. It's about understanding that they are children and they need structure. They need structure. And they need an adult relationship, positive.
That's right.
Not exploitive.
That's right.
But positive, that's going to be there and to help them to discern what is going on with all of this stuff coming at them. Imagine.
I agree. And one of the things I heard somebody say and they were talking about men, and it says if we could spend some time to just teach our boys the value of being a man when he gets to be a man, we don't have to teach him how to be a man. And it's the same thing with our girls.
Absolutely. But even more so for girls. See, people forget that if your girls are off the hook, then your community is completely disruptive. Girls have such a powerful influence on the boys.
Yes, they do.
On their peers.
Yes, they do.
On their family.
On their parents,
and on their community.
Absolutely.
And if your girls are together, you got a together community.
That's right.
And people, need to understand that. I mean, that's something that Dr. Hyde and I used to talk about all the time, about the importance of making sure that our girls are on a positive pathway.
And that's awesome.
And I was going to say, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to put this
Yes,
book together.
I wanted to hear, yes.
Advice from the Top, because I wanted to identify women who had excelled in their career and to talk about what were some of the things that they thought were important in their rising to the top of their field, so that we don't have to repeat the mistakes that were made and all of that.
Because we keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again, and we expect men to be our saviors. That is not the deal. We have got to be able to establish what you said with our girls from the beginning, that this is mama and you are the daughter.
Yeah.
And what those boundaries are.
Exactly. Have to establish them.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you find that? Tell us a little bit about
I found
advice from the top.
Family was very important with a number of the women that I have. They were in, different fields. With Kathy Hughes in radio, I had B. Muglia, who's a medical doctor. I had some in education, just a variety of fields and they talked about this whole issue of gender and race and how that affected their climb, as well as some of the ways that you could avoid that.
So real quickly, because when we get into this stuff, time goes so fast. Dr. Cole.
Well,
I think oh my goodness. Can we just talk about her? She's a phenomenal woman.
But not only that, she's leaving a legacy, because legacies are generational. So the impact that she had at Spelman, Bennett, and now at the African Museum
absolutely
are institutionalized legacies. These are going to be there to carry on, and they're not fads. They're not sensationalism. This is embedded in our culture.
This is
and
good.
So
that's what's important. I think we have to get to the point that there's got to be some things that are generational.
That's right.
And then people see that it's not unusual for a woman to be in charge of a university, that this is not the purview of just men. When you start getting women
now,
like
she
her,
was the first woman at Spelman.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that was powerful. And she did, for people who didn't even know her, begin to know her work.
That's right. That's right. And her leadership, her
and
management,
her worth.
Her management ability.
Yes, absolutely.
Which meant that she could move in any direction that she wanted to.
Absolutely.
And you could just see how she just took those skills.
An anthropology major and literally took leadership to a whole nother level for women.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Here in the Tea Room, we want to leave a legacy of good shows that honor God and transform families and communities. Legacy is all about looking at the big picture, thinking about others, and beginning with the end in mind. I want to thank my guests today for this great discussion. What will be your legacy? If you've got some thoughts, email me at ms.deborahstearoom@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time in the Tea Room.